We are here today in a partnership organized by the Spanish Trade Office alongside the Embassy of Spain and the IFEX under the aim of approaching Spanish companies and institutions to the multilateral banks that are currently working in Egypt, financing many projects on infrastructure and green energies sector as well. And there are many Spanish and Egyptian companies that are benefiting from this moment to talking about opportunities of cooperation under the umbrella of the multilateral institutions such as the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the European Union representative for the funding as well. So there is a lot of opportunity to talk on how to improve infrastructure in Egypt with this multilateral funding with these institutions.
Mr. Clear, I'm very glad to be able to participate in this event. One of my first activities since I started my tenure as the new Spanish ambassador. As Mr. Soriano has said, I have a little experience in the region. Of course, this is a huge challenge for me.
Well, I think that bilateral relations, economic relations, are excellent. We are in a very good moment in that sense. We have a record figure in 2018, and even despite the pandemic and the very uncertain international situation, we almost managed to get to that record in 2021, which is something that didn't happen with other commercial partners, trade partners. But there is still scope for improvement, so our trade relation is still below the potential. But we are seeing an important increase in this year 2022, especially with exports from Egypt to Spain. It's going to multiply maybe 2-3-fold this year, which is very good news. Going to the investment side, I think there's also a scope for improvement, that's for sure. There's a lot of participation of Spanish companies here in Egypt. It's been like that for a long time, really, and participating in emblematic projects. Infrastructure, renewable energy, water, waste management, but still we want more Spanish companies to come to Egypt, to commit with Egypt and with the local partners in the medium long term, and to have also the institutional support and a good, favorable framework and condition for them to enter the Egyptian market and stay here for a long time.
We have no doubt that this year's edition is going to be another great success and will bear fruitful outcome to all participants for Egypt and for Spain.
But I think there's a lot of potential. If you look at Spanish companies operating in Egypt, and we work a lot with Spanish companies, you see that they are involved in all the right sectors. So you have Spanish companies in the water sector, you have Spanish companies in the energy renewable sector, in other sectors as well. So they play or they are present in very vital sectors that are expected to continue to grow over the next few years. So the potential is very strong.
This is a very interesting event for us because we are bringing our strong footprint in the Middle East and our experience in the Gulf countries, and we combine it with our long track record with multilateral development banks that we work with worldwide. And so we believe that we can bring a lot of added value to projects in Egypt. And we look forward to working more in the country and hopefully establish a presence here.
The European Investment Bank is the European Union bank. It is owned by the 27 member states of the European Union, and the objective is to create or to support the objectives of the European Union outside the Union. In this case, Egypt, as part of the neighborhood countries of near in the European Union. Key counterpart for the EIB, because we have been operating here for more than 40 years in different areas of activities. The EIB has been supporting public infrastructure like in water sector, transport and energy. and then at the same time support the small and medium-sized enterprises through financial intermediaries. We have currently a portfolio of around 7.2 billion euros in Egypt, and we're financing a variety of projects. So in our case, the strategy continues to support the objectives of Egypt that have been agreed as well with the European Union, and within the framework of the European Union partnership with Egypt is where EIB operates.
Saucitech is a specialized company for signal and telecommunication. We have presence in all of the world, and we are working in California now in the new high-speed line in Central Valley, and in other big projects. We were participating in all high-speed line in Spain and in the Mecca Medina project in Turkey, and that is the intention is Egypt has a very big investment plan in high speed, and this is our place to came to here to starting the collaboration and transmit part of our knowledge, our know-how to here to engineer, because this is it's not the first time that we introduce new technologies, because 30 years ago I was working in Spain when starting the high-speed Madrid-Sevilla. I was the author. I signed the project of the Madrid-Sevilla line more than 25 years ago, and now in Spain, you know, is a very big industry in the high speed. That is the...
Imacia Global is a holding company, and the company is Imacia Construction and the Consultrans. Imacia Construction is a construction company specialized in railway construction, in particular the track line of the train. And Consultrans is a consultancy and engineering company which is specialized also in railway design engineering. With these two companies we cover almost all the life cycle of a railway infrastructure project. We start with a feasibility study, we continue with the conceptual design, we continue with the detailed design, and then the construction, and then the supervision and advisory of the client. This is the object, I mean, what we do.
El director de estudios de Imacia Construcción, la empresa establecida en España, y bueno, pues tenemos, estamos trabajando en la internacionalización de la compañía. Estamos establecidos en Saudi Arabia con nuestro proyecto referencia, el Mecca Medina. Estamos actualmente haciendo el mantenimiento de 150 kilómetros de línea allí en Haramain, en el proyecto Haramain en Saudi Arabia. Y bueno, pues estamos en Egipto porque tenemos potenciales oportunidades, proyectos que estamos evaluando para en corto plazo pues, bueno, pues trabajar en el sector ferroviario.
Aqualia is the number one Spanish company in the water business. We are number 4 in Europe and number 9 in the world in terms of managing everything related with the whole cycle of water. We are present in 17 countries, and here in Egypt we have 3 big projects, 2 wastewater treatment plants, one in New Cairo, which actually is the first PPP in Egypt, and we are very proud of that. And the third project is in El Alamein, is a water desalination plant. The first 2 projects, our New Cairo wastewater treatment plant and in Abu Rawas wastewater treatment plant, our partner is Orascom, it's a 50-50 JV. While El Alamein project, desalination plant, which is 150,000 cubic meters per day, we did it just ourselves. We are also very proud of that because it's the only desalination plant in Egypt that has been built by a single company, and this is Aqualia, a Spanish company. Now we are doing the operation and maintenance of that plant, working for MOD, and the two wastewater treatment plants. The New Cairo one is for NUCA under the Ministry of Housing, and the Abu Rawas plant is the client is CAPO, the Civil Construction Authority for Potable Water, which is also under the Ministry of Housing.
TIPSA is a consulting engineering group. We work mainly in the sectors of transportation, water, energy, and buildings. So we are involved in important infrastructure, urban and energy projects worldwide. We think that in Egypt we could work on all of these sectors and provide our best knowledge and technology that we're developing in other regions as well.
Today in this event, very happy for being part of it, representing Alstom Transportation, that it's a company specialized on all kind of railway transport, from digital and infra signaling systems to rolling stock. And we have a huge presence in Egypt for many years. And of course, our target is to stay in the market and to increase our business here, since the experience that we always had in Egypt has been great. We are involved in the Cairo Metro, we are involved as well for the monorail, and we are as well in main lines with infra signaling and rolling stock. That's more or less the target that we have in Egypt. The experience has been very good. And right now we are part of this event, this partenariado, this partnership organized between Egypt and Spain. That is a great opportunity to us to promote and to understand transportation in Egypt. We are of course working with main multilateral institutions like the World Bank or the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We also work with Spanish institutions such as CESCE, or we also work with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and Tourism, and that in Spain. So today, gathering everybody in just 3 days with these panels explaining what is the amount of investment in Egypt that companies that are involved in our case in transportation can get from. It's a magnificent opportunity. And there is also panels on water and environment that is going to be held tomorrow. So everything related to green and to improve quality of living from the people, and that's the challenge that we have nowadays. So I think this is a great opportunity for everybody.
I think that the sectors we've selected for this multilateral partnership are maybe the most promising ones, which is renewable energy, which is transport, mainly sustainable mobility, also water and environment in all. There's also the agrotech sector, the agrotech industry, with Spanish companies having a lot to offer really, with matching interests with local partners and local authorities. So those will be the most promising and important sectors we have to collaborate in. And for these to become true, what we can do from both sides, from both governments, is first of all to create a favorable framework. We have a bilateral investment treaty for the last 30 years, which is very useful. We also have the double taxation treaty, we have the association agreement, there's no tariff, we have a preferential access to the Egyptian market, and Egyptian companies also have a preferential market to the EU, to the preferential access to the EU market. So we have that legal framework, which is good.
The projects, I mean, we're doing what we do, sustainable development. So I think we have to look at the sustainability of the project in the long term, We provide long-term financing that is they match the needs of the infrastructure investments in these areas, as I say, energy, only physical infrastructure like energy, transport and water, but also on social infrastructure like education or health. So our objective is always to find how to assess the sustainability of the projects. That means that when we do a bankability study, we have to look not only at the financial returns of the project, but for us what is more important, the economic impacts of those. In terms of job creation, in terms of development of value chains, or in terms of development of the social impacts in the population. So at the end of the day, also we need to finance projects that are environmentally friendly, that adhere also to the social standards of the EIB, which are also based on the European Union standards for social development and protection. So I think at the end of the day, these are the key parameters that we need to look at. In terms of public sector projects, also then we need to have procurement, we apply procurement guidelines, which ensure the openness and transparency of the process. And in private sector, obviously we need to see that also the same principles apply to ensure the best outcome for the procurement or tendering processes.
I think the important factor here is to make sure that on both sides there are, as you mentioned, the right incentives to develop the business in different countries, in Egypt or in Spain. So being it Egypt being able to export to the Spanish market, or the Spanish companies being able to localize their investments here, and there are many policy aspects that can be worked on both sides to achieve that. But again, as I mentioned, I think there is already presence of Spanish companies in the Egyptian market in very vital sectors. I forgot to mention transportation as well. So it's certainly going in the right direction.
This precise moment, I think Egypt is one of the most important countries in terms of opportunities, because the plan of building railway infrastructure is huge. Egypt was one of the first countries having a railway network. With time goes, time passes, and things get old. But now the plan is modernize and to put up to date the infrastructure, attending to the needs of the people, to the needs of the business and the wishes of development of Egyptian society. So the opportunity is huge, and we are ready to cooperate in the development of the railway network. We have the experience not only in Spain with high speed, but also in other countries like Saudi Arabia. We've been part of the consortium building up the Mecca-Medina high-speed train, so we can replicate the experience in Saudi in Egypt, and will be very pleased to do it.
Egypt, I think, is probably in the best situation because I have a big more of 100 million person is living here, and I think is a key for not only this country, for introducing Africa and in another part of the world. I think the plan of the government of Egypt, I think, is very ambitious, but I think is very good. I feel, and Egypt has the all ingredient to be one of the best players in the world in this area. 2,000 kilometers, the objective now to build 2,000 kilometers of high speed is ambitious and good, and it's very good for the tourists because a big investment like in Spain, Madrid-Sevilla line or Madrid-Barcelona is completely full of the people. It's a good investment. Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that water is probably the most important thing, and in Egypt especially, we all know that 90% of the water needs of Egypt comes from the Nile River. That's why there are huge opportunities both in the production of water, in the desalination, and also in the water treatment, wastewater and potable water. We are very interested in the program that the government of Egypt, through the Sovereign Fund, the holding company, Ministry of Housing, all these entities are working on this great program which is combining desalination with renewable energy.
The climate of investment, I would say, is attractive. We have a good a network of Egyptian partners, and I think that we are very positive about the business we can do in the country.
We also have a very big market here in Egypt. That's something that also the companies always consider when entering a market. And then we have also a financial protocol signed between Spain and Egypt. This protocol has been modernized to include more instruments, a wide array variety of instruments that are more modern and more suitable for the projects in sustainable economy, and we also have more resources allotted to this. What we would like to do also, and it's something that we are trying to boost through this multilateral partnership, is to get also engaged with international financial institutions to co-invest through the blending facilities that we have and try to multiply the effect of what we can do. I think that there are many things that Egypt can do by itself and Spain can do by itself, but if we collaborate, there's a lot that we can do for the environment.
And my sector is very strong because when Egypt's government signed with Siemens, I can say to the 70% of the product will came from Spain, from Siemens Spain. The tales is the same. When you sign one contract, it's not French. Probably the 70% of the products came from Madrid. This is and all more services like my company came to here. I think the important is we are living in a global world, and the best is to take good company like you choose to develop the Talgo or CAF are present here, or Siemens or Thales. And later came this transmission of the knowledge to the engineer at the company of the Egypt. This is, I think, it's the good place to be here.
We need to be and to work in connection with local companies. We are absolutely convinced that we have to be cooperating with local companies. Trying to be complementary with local companies. We don't want to compete with local companies in those aspects where local companies can be competent and competitive. So we want to concentrate in those aspects that we have references, that we have experience, and we can provide quality services. This is the main objective, to find cooperation with local companies. And I think we've been having contacts in the last years, and we are now ready to start projects in Egypt, both in engineering and in construction.
Well, in my opinion, the Spanish companies needs to understand, first of all, what is the potential for their business. Depending on which sector they work, they need to understand first if there is potential for their business, right? In the water, it's clear, I already mentioned, and that's why yesterday in a meeting with the Spanish companies I said, okay, I gave them a few tips and lessons learned about our experience, Aqualia experience in Egypt, for all other companies that are willing to come to Egypt to invest and to work. For the water business, they don't need to come because we are already here, so it's okay. But for other sectors, the recommendations will be the same, which is, like I said, first identify the the potential of this country in that sector. Second, I think this may sound obvious, but you have to have good local partners. Also, you should hire Egyptian managers here, because not only for the language issue, but yeah, and also I think very important in the contracts to agree with the clients that there must be a revision of the formula for the prices, just to compensate the inflation. This is very important. And also try to agree with the clients that instead of having all the contracts in local currency, in EGP, also there should be like a balance to get paid also in either euro or dollar.
And Egypt and Spain have been trade partners and investment partners for many, many years. Spain exports around 1.5 billion euro per year, and imports from Egypt around 900 million euro, and this last figure is increasing. So in terms of gas, in terms of fuel, in terms of automotive components, agricultural products, we are of course partners for many, many years, and we are in a very good moment. I think that from a diplomatic point of view, the relationship between Egypt and Spain has always been very, very good. And now that I'm traveling quite often to Egypt, I can see that in terms of people and the way we understand both countries and we do business, it's very, very close because maybe we are Mediterranean countries, and so I think we have a lot of potential to increase this relationship between both countries, of course.
Egypt has a perfect location. It's geographically, it's in the north of Africa. It connects also with Middle East, connects with Asia, and Europe and Africa, right? So it's a perfect place to be considered as a hub to grow into the region. Aqualia is already present in GCC countries, some of them like Emirates, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and still we need to grow into Kuwait, Bahrain, in that area, but also in Africa, countries like Jordan and Libya, maybe we should grow our business there.
Yes, for develop infrastructure is necessary to work together with the local companies. It's not possible to think I bring the people from Europe to here. No, that doesn't work. This is at the beginning is with a senior engineer, but in 1, 2, 3 years is necessary to transmit this knowledge for local people. Now in Egypt there are very good engineers. I know good engineer because I was working before in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia I was working with very good Egyptian engineer, and I think there will be no problem in this area. It is necessary to transmit for companies like Siemens, it has the responsible for this 2,000 kilometers, to transmit this knowledge, and we have experience. We were developing seminars in California, in the Berkeley University, in Silicon Valley, in the same way, because California is a high technology but has no experience in high speed, and this is the strategy is the same. We want we want to transmit knowledge about this, and here I think it's the same way.
I think there's a lot of room for growth, you know. Actually, I was surprised that in these meetings that we are having these days, there are companies from Spain that are coming because they understand Egypt is a very good market for their business. Still, there are some companies already here, but there could be more for sure. The relationship between the two countries are good. In a way, we share this Mediterranean mentality, which I think it makes a lot of sense for Spanish and Egyptians work together.
Well, I think that there is a lot of opportunities and in Egypt. I'm thinking right now, if I think more on the export side, because since I am a Spaniard in Egypt, I think that for transportation there is a lot to do, and transportation communicates people and allow people to move, allow people to work in different places or to study in different places or to visit their family. So I think that the aim of the ministries in Egypt is to invest on transportation. So I see a clear and good future for this. I also believe that water, that is not the sector I work with, but I can see the problem that we have all around the world with water, and Egypt as well, and the investment that Egypt is doing on the desalination plants, on the treatment of water. It's also something that Egypt started and is going to continue doing it, because it's the only path that we have. And also there are other sectors like building or well, everything, as I mentioned before, green pollution. It's also an issue that we have to face everywhere. So the future that I see is that we will invest on improving infrastructures for all sectors to having a better living standards.
For TIPSA, it would be important to come in as a partner in a big relevant project, infrastructure, energy, building project in Egypt. That would be our main target, and we are optimistic that we're going to achieve this in the coming months.
Egypt is a dynamic climate, it's a dynamic country. I think it's a young population. I think 70% of the population has less than 30 years, and I think it's coming from years in which there was a lack of investment. So I think the last 4 or 5 years we have seen that there is a push for investments, especially on the infrastructure sector. EIB has been supporting that investment in some areas, especially in the water sector with water waste treatment plants, as well development of the clean urban transport systems, like for instance the metro lines in Cairo or public transport in Alexandria. Also we are discussing the development of the railways with the ENR. So in a way the EIB products and services fit very well with the objectives of Egypt to create a conducive physical infrastructure environment for conducting business in the country. So I think we remain always positive. I mean, supporting in partnership with the Egyptian government to continue the investments and to continue development and the country in favor of the Egyptian population. I think our main focus as well is to focus on what are the needs of the Egyptian populations in order to increase their living standards and to make a better Egypt for everybody.
It's a challenging moment because of the economical situation, but this is a challenging moment everywhere. So I don't think that this will be a big problem. We will solve it. And I mean in terms of currency, in terms of inflation that we are everywhere we are facing this, in terms of the impact that wars all around the world have on our countries, because we are global. So, well, I think it will be a moment to deal with, that we need to keep working, companies and people, and we need to keep optimistic and thinking that we are right now maybe in a tough moment, but Egypt, and is the best example, Egypt recently overcome very difficult situations, so I trust absolutely on Egypt and Spain, and for business no problem at all.
Very positive. I mean, Egypt is a huge market, it's a profitable market, and it's a market for those people having the vocation to cooperate with in the development of countries abroad.
I mean, if you look at Spain today, it's the largest agriculture, one of the largest agriculture companies in Europe. It's also one of the largest energy producers in Europe. Egypt certainly has the potential of becoming the energy hub for the region. and is venturing also into a more efficient agriculture reform, so to reduce the water consumption and have an increase, yet at the same time increase the yield, which is important because of Egypt's water security and food security aspects. So certainly on both sides there's a lot of complementarity and a lot of know-how and knowledge that both can benefit from at the same time.
I think that the international scenario is complex, and of course the companies have to deal with a lot of uncertainty regarding the supply chain, the inflation, the effects of the pandemic that is still lagging on transport. But if we find reliable partners, if we find friends in the international scenario, then things are much easier. And so we have to build security for our companies, we have to build security for our citizens, and so we have to collaborate with other countries that are close in terms of not only geographically but mainly in terms of culture, in terms of political interest, and in terms of friendship. And I think that the ties between Spain and Egypt are very strong. So that is the most important ground to build on it, and so the future, I think, in the trade and investment relations is promising.